Zara's footsteps echoed down the empty corridor as she hurried toward the research lab. She clutched her datapad tightly, still hardly believing the encrypted message she had received just hours before. If it was true, everything was about to change. She entered the secured lab, the airlock hissing shut behind her. Dr. Valen looked up from his console, his brow furrowed. "You got my message. What's this all about, Zara?" "It's really happening," she said, hardly able to contain her excitement. "Project Novanima is a go." Dr. Valen's eyes went wide. He crossed over to her in 2 long strides. "Are you certain, after all these years of being shut down and underfunded?" Zara nodded, unable to suppress a grin. The transmission came through official channels, new orders from Central Command. "We're being greenlit to restart the xenogenetic program immediately." A look of pure wonder spread across the doctor's lined features. He glanced over at the row of cryo chambers along the wall, reverentially running his hand along the icy surface. To think, after so many generations, we're finally going to see it come to fruition. Zara joined him, staring at the chambers. Though impossible to discern from the outside, she knew each one contained a genetic potpourri sampled from different species across the galaxy, both extant and extinct, the building blocks to reseed an entire world. "I can hardly believe it," Valen murmured. "Ever since the war harvesters devastated Zentron Prime 2 centuries ago, everyone thought Project Novanima was a fool's dream. But we kept those seeds viable, just in case the day came when we could give that shattered world new life once more." "Well, that day is finally here," Zara said, tapping in commands on her datapad to initiate the thawing sequence. "In less than a cycle, these genetic codes will be compiled and launched through the Nexus Mirror straight to the reseeding facility on Zentron." The rows of chambers began to glow faintly from within as the warming process started. Dr. Valen watched them with the look of a father seeing his children after years apart. "A whole new genesis. Zentron Prime will teem with life again, not just the ecosystems we knew, but a bold new biosphere to help the planet heal from those terrible nano-bombardments." "It will be incredible," Zara agreed. Already her mind raced with the possibilities. New floral revivals, hybridized fauna found nowhere else, perhaps even integrating some of the cosmos's most unique genomes into the mix to make Zentron's rebirth truly spectacular. From the shadows at the back of the lab, a low rumbling growl caused them both to spin around. Zara's breath caught in her throat as her eyes beheld the immense, shaggy form emerging from the darkness. "What in the—" Valen drew his sidearm, aiming it to cover the gigarillisk lumbering forward. "Zara, get behind me!" The towering beast stood easily 3 meters at the shoulder. Covered in thick, matted black fur, it regarded them with baleful crimson eyes. Zara couldn't take her eyes off the creature's massive forelimbs tipped with jagged claws longer than her forearm. It took a rumbling step closer, jaws parting to reveal a maw full of dagger-like fangs. Zara instinctively reached for her own weapon before realizing with a start that she didn't have one. "Where did that thing come from?" Valen shouted, keeping his phase pistol leveled at the creature's fearsome bulk. Then Zara noticed a strange canister gripped in one of the gigarillisk's claws, attached to her datapad by a fried set of leads. Her eyes went wide with horrified realization. "Valen, no, don't shoot." But the doctor had already opened fire, searing energy bolts slamming into the creature's flank. The gigarillisk barely even flinched, letting out an earth-shaking roar of rage. It reared back, and Zara reflexively shielded her face as that massive paw swept out in a blur, and everything went black. The sickening crunch of splintering bone and rending flesh echoed through the chamber as Dr. Valen's lifeless form crumpled to the floor. Zara could only stare in shock. Her mentor's blood splattered across her lab coat. The gigarillisk turned those burning crimson eyes on her next. It started forward again, each thunderous step shaking the ground beneath Zara's feet. She backpedaled, finally finding her voice to scream. "Wait! Please, you don't understand!" Zara held up her hands imploringly. We're not your enemy. The towering beast showed no sign of comprehending her pleas. Its lips peeled back from those bone-crushing fangs as it prepared to strike again. Zara's mind raced. She had to make it see reason, had to get through to the intelligence she knew lingered behind those feral eyes. Look! She pointed desperately at the smashed remains of her datapad. That drive you have, it's the activation key for Project Novanima, for reseeding Zentron Prime. The Gigarilisk slowed its advance, those deep ruby orbs swiveling toward the row of cryo-chambers. Zara pressed on, praying her words were getting through. We're going to bring that world back to life, an entire new genesis of flora and fauna, a chance to start over and let the planet heal itself. She took a hesitant step forward, palms raised. You're a part of that too. Your genome, intermingled with the others, a piece of the grand rebirth. The Gigarilisk cocked its head, studying her impassively. Zara met that piercing gaze, hope stirring within her breast. So you see, we're on the same side here. Let me uplink that drive, and we can complete the sequence, rebirth instead of death and destruction. What do you say? For a long moment, the only sound was the thrum of the cryo-chambers cycling up to full power. Then, almost cautiously, the creature proffered the battered drive canister. Zara accepted it with a relieved smile. She hurried over to the main console, plugging in the drive and rapidly tapping through the resequencing commands. Don't worry, I'll make sure your genome is right at the forefront. You'll be one of the primogenitors on the new Zentron. The Gigarilisk rumbled deeply, as if in approval. Zara couldn't help but grin as line after line of genetic code began racing across the displays, the culmination of over 2 centuries of work and preparation. Her smile faltered, however, as she studied the genomic cascades more closely. Her blood ran cold as she realized what was happening. No, this can't be right. Abandoning all pretense, the Gigarilisk stalked toward her again. That terrible maw stretched wide in a perverse parody of a grin. Zara whirled to face it, pure horror etched across her features. You sabotaged the drive, reordered and corrupted all the DNA sequences. She slammed her fist desperately on the console, but it was too late. The launch apertures were already cycling open, ready to fire the warped genetic payload across the cosmos. Don't you see what you've done? Zara cried, tears stinging her eyes. That won't give Zentron a rebirth. It'll be a nightmare born anew, nothing but infinitely mutated horrors and howling soulless abominations. The Gigarilisk merely regarded her balefully, as if to say, I know. With a blood-curdling roar of triumph, it reared back and delivered the final fatal blow. Far across the galaxy, the receding facility on the dead world of Zentron Prime began disgorging the corrupted DNA samples into its atmospheric processes. A virulent maelstrom of grotesque new life rushed forth, twisting and mutating with every searing cycle. The war harvesters had only managed to scour Zentron of life eons ago. Now something far worse was about to be reborn.